for a great show. There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings success, companionship, happiness, health, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. I'm your host, Dr. Janine Burns, and I teach practical spirituality according to the New Thought tradition. And New Thought teaches that there's one infinite intelligence, divine, loving presence in the universe that expresses in you, through you, and as you. And as you develop a conscious relationship with this power, you will find that you are always divinely guided. You are in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Your life is filled with peace, ease, joy, and every good thing that you choose to express, as long as you continue to move and stay in tune with this amazing power through affirmations, meditation, and spiritual study. And towards that end, I have three fantastic guests this week. Joining me on the phone will be Barbara Califano-Badler. She's an energy coach and a spiritual teacher. We have from Chicago, Dr. Margo Ruark. She's an author, and she is also the director and founder of the Peace Centers International. And then later on, we have Reverend Natalie, and she is with the High Watch organization. And for those of you familiar with the New Thought movement, you'll recognize that as Emma Curtis Hopkins' teaching, and she's going to talk all about that. Did I tell you? I've got a great show? I do. So let's just jump right in. And I'd like to bring on to the phone right now Barbara Califano-Badler. Welcome to Spirituality Rocks.
Hi, Janine. How are you?
I'm just delighted you're with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Terrific. So, I found out about your work on Facebook. You have a company called White Light Productions.
That's right.
Tell us all about it, please.
Well, it's a spiritual company. We bring spirituality, enlightenment, and an awakening for people. We're dedicated really to enhancing the spiritual growth of people on their life's journey through education. One of our cornerstones is the Relaxing Mondays that we host on Monday nights. It's an opportunity for people to get together and experience a spiritual lecture. We do guided meditations and yoga with essential oils. It's very relaxing. We bring in a lot of spiritual leaders to come and speak to our groups.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, for the viewing audience, because we actually have international viewers, Barbara is located on Long Island in New York, and I believe you have a location in Comic where you have your meditation classes?
Yes, my partner Stephen Jonte does meditations in Comac on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, and then again on Saturday and Sundays. You can find out information about that on our website, which is actually our Facebook page with the White Light Productions, which is White Light 1111 on Facebook.
Right, so it's we have a banner, facebook.com/whitelight1111.
That's correct.
So tell me a little bit.
Okay, sorry. Say again?
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the Monday evenings again, please.
Sure. We like to call it Relax Me Mondays. No one likes Monday. You know, it's the beginning of the week, it's a work week, but this is like a place where people can get together and just relax and be with like-minded people. And we bring Monday a sense of peace and education. We do yoga with essential oils at the beach during the summertime. July and August, we'll be heading down to the beach. And it's nothing like having a yoga session right by the water. And we bring in different spiritual teachers to come in to talk about different ways to improve our lives and give us tools to help us during the week. And then we have a guided meditation at the end with the sunset, which is really beautiful. Relax Me Monday has become a staple for us. We've been doing this since last summer, and our group has been growing and growing. We just love our Mondays.
That sounds great. I remember
Mondays are much better now.
Yeah, I bet. I remember years and years ago, I was the leader of a progressive spiritual center, a New Thought Center, and we used to have sunrise meditations, and people loved them. So doing your spiritual work on the beach when you're immersed in nature just really feeds your soul.
Yes, it's nothing like the water. I mean, water brings such energy to us.
Yeah.
And it really clears our minds, and it just keeps us focused on what's important in life.
Very healing, too. Water is very healing. If you're grieving or you're going through sadness, any kind of water, showers, looking at water, sitting by the beach is very healing.
Yeah, And when you need to clear your mind and be creative, it's nothing like just sitting there and letting yourself go and connecting with your soul.
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you're a writer. Tell me about your writings.
I work for, I write for a Long Island magazine called Long Island Ace Magazine.
Oh, Aces. Now, how can people read your writing on Aces?
You can go to Facebook as well. It's Long Island Aces Magazine. You could also find it on my Facebook page.
Okay.
Which I put up every month.
And that's
electronic.
That's Amy Augustine's is the editor of that.
Correct.
Right.
Amy Augustine is a beautiful person, and she put this magazine together and really has brought life to Long Island. We don't realize how fortunate we are that we live here on this island, and we're surrounded by beautiful places and amazing entertainers, culture, and it's just a really wonderful magazine. Just wonderful writers that are in it, and that tell all different types of articles.
So your articles, do you do a blog, or tell me more about your writing?
I write really, you want to know my method? I actually will sit there in front of my computer and I ask Spirit just to give me what people need to hear for the month.
That's perfect. I love that, because in New Thought we teach that divine ideas are your direct inheritance from the universe, from God, from Spirit. So that's great.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that I am not the one that's in control. They are, and I allow them to use me as a tool. And when I get a message that I need to really focus in on, like I have an idea in my mind, I know there's a reason for it, and I go for it. And 9 times out of 10, I'm very happy with what I write. And I'm even more pleased when I hear someone give me good feedback that it helped them or made them think about something more. It's really rewarding. Very rewarding.
Fantastic. Tell me about some of the subjects you've written about recently. I know you just recently wrote about embracing the dark side.
That was a tough one. Embracing the shadows. Shadows are very, very tricky. People are so afraid to talk about it because it's actually going deep inside you and dealing with things that you may not have dealt with before in your past.
Issues.
And it kind of conjures up all the things that make you feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
And actually pushes you, and it makes your soul ascend because you need to. You can't push down all your emotions all the time. People walk around, everything's fine, it's wonderful. And yes, when we want smart life is wonderful. But there are moments that we get triggered. And when we get triggered and our emotion changes and our feelings are emerged, we have to really get in touch with that and know where it comes from. And then once we find out where it comes from, we can say, we don't need this anymore. It no longer serves me. So then we can release it. So if we get triggered again by a situation, we can say, oh yeah, I remember that feeling. Not going to take me this time. And then you become better at it. Life will become much easier. Certain circumstances will not be so overwhelming.
Right, great.
And life will just get easier.
Right, very good. Now, do you actually have a blog as well?
I am developing that, and hopefully that will be ready this summer. I'm very excited about that.
Terrific. Very good. So I want to just remind the viewers that if you are in New York or if you want to read more of Barbara Califano-Badler's work, you can go to www.facebook.com/whitelight1111.
Right.
I got it right. Okay.
So they can go to my professional page, which is Barbara Energy Coach.
Okay, so you also Facebook.com, Barbara Energy Coach. You can check you out. Okay, terrific. Just tell us about a couple of upcoming classes.
Oh, let's see. We have coming up, we have Karen Garvey. Karen Garvey is a motivated speaker. She is phenomenal. She's actually international. She has traveled all over the world speaking to groups about life. She's a very, very beautiful soul. She'll be here on Monday night. It's $20.
What's her topic?
The topic is going to be about joy in your life.
Oh, okay, great.
And how to connect to that joy. And also, she's going to have open question and answers. People can ask her any kind of questions, and she will best answer them to her ability. She loves an open forum.
And so
she just wants to be able to reach people in different ways and hearing their questions because it can reach their needs better.
And so if people want to sign up for that, do they go to the Facebook page?
They can go to the Facebook page, or they can come down to our site, which is at the Holbrook Wellness Center in Holbrook, which is 5000 Expressway South, off the LIE. And, there is limited seating, so they should go on and register with us. If they go to our White Light page or to my professional page, we have the invite there.
Very good.
If they want to come, they could just reserve their seat.
Okay, terrific. Well, that's wonderful. I just want to remind the viewers again that it's www.facebook.com/whitelight1111. And thank you so much, Barbara Califano-Badler, for joining us on Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you very much, Janine. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you so much.
Terrific having you. All right, we're going to take a brief commercial break, and right after that, we're going to return and we're going to talk with Reverend Margo Ruark about her organization, Peace Centers International. So stay tuned for more of Spirituality Rocks.
Stretching under sedation or manipulation under anesthesia is a very gentle, very precise procedure to very slowly release any scar tissue that is formed as a result of a traumatic injury. Many people ask, how does this work? Will I get hurt? Will you stretch me too far? We only stretch the body part to its normal range of motion. After completing the post-MUA rehabilitation program, it's very common that our patients say to us, hey, I can play ball with my kid again. Hey, I can bowl again. Hey, I can enjoy hiking again. This is what makes it rewarding to us as practitioners.
After all the candles are blown out, after the last toast of the night, Cambridge paving stones with Armortech stand the test of time. Beautifully designed, built to last.
Only Cambridge paving stones have Armortech, our unique process that produces a rich, distinctive color.
Create your own memories with Cambridge paving stones. Visit CambridgePavers.com.
Cambridge paving stones with Armortech will always look like new.
I think this is a good time to tell you. You're doing okay, Mom. I can call you Mom, right? I know we haven't known each other very long, but you seem like a real keeper. You're not perfect. There was that strained carrots incident, but you're trying. You pick up my bottle every time I toss it out of my stroller. That's high comedy to an 8-month-old. You hum the Barber of Seville when you wash my hair. So cool. And your rub-downs are out of this world. Anyway, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. You know, right? How much I love you? You're doing okay, Mom.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, with another fantastic episode. I invite you to like us on Facebook. Go to Spirituality Rocks. We have a group, and we also have a page, and you can see past shows there. You also can see shows by going to www.spiritualityrockstv.com. And now I have with us the woman who has created Peace Centers International. She is the Reverend Dr. Margo Ruark. She is from Chicago, Illinois. Welcome to Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Just such a pleasure. So you have a radical idea, and your radical idea is that if there's less war inside, there'll be less war outside. What does that mean?
That means if we take care of what we are thinking and feeling on the inside, that outpictures on the outside, and we start caring less and less about how other people look at us, how they're walking at us, and we start looking at them differently, giving them positive regard and thinking about them in different ways, like the divine creations that they are.
Wonderful. So and you also say that when more people experience inner peace, then there naturally will be more peace in the world.
That's correct. And our specific approach to that is a technique that we have called collective meditation. When people come together and meditate together, we find that they experience peace together. So that's what we are out to do, is to bring as many people as we can together in their localities, in their own communities, to meditate together.
Oh, wonderful.
About peace.
And so you teach meditation techniques then?
Yes, we do. And we also encourage others to come in and share their own meditation techniques. We do not emphasize one as being better than the other.
Okay.
We'll all get there.
Right. There's many paths, right?
Yes. All lead to the same place.
Wonderful. I want the people who are viewing to know your website is www.peacecentersinternational.org. That's Peace Centers with an S, international.org. So tell us a little bit about your background, Reverend Dr. Margo. I know you're an independent New Thought minister.
Yes. Yes, I was licensed and ordained within the Centers for Spiritual Living, and I have recently left the organization. But all along here, my interest has been in peace. And what I wanted to do was focus specifically on peace and be able to develop a curriculum that would empower and focus on that specific competency, we might call it. So I've developed we've developed a facilitator training and a way to organize people on a local level. And so that's what we're doing right now. We also organize events. We also organize what we call peace walks. They're not the kind of protests and all that. They're more along the lines of what Thich Nhat Hanh would do with very mindful, meditative kinds of walks, more like a blessing type of thing. And we also have other types of activities that we organize. We also are in the midst of writing a book ourselves on the phenomena of collective meditation across all world religions. We had thought, well, how difficult can that be to find a quick and easy guide to this phenomena? It is found in all world religions, we know that, but it was not as easy as we thought. So we put this together ourselves, and we are about to release this in conjunction with the International Day of Peace, maybe even sooner than that.
Wonderful. When is the International Day of Peace?
That is September 21st.
Okay.
And it is celebrated all over the world. It's something that the United Nations instigated in 1981. The first observance, the resolution passed in 81. The first observance was 1982. And millions of people, groups all over the world, celebrate this observance in many different ways. And in the United States, I believe most New Thought churches are behind it in some way, shape, or form.
That's fantastic. So besides that book, I know you have authored a couple of other books. What's the title of the first book you wrote, please?
It's called Where'd He Get That? A Biblical Cross-Reference to Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind.
Yes. I remember reading about that, and that's wonderful. So in other words, where Ernest Holmes, who, for those who do not know, is the founder of the philosophy called Science of Mind. It is a New Thought. The Centers for Spiritual Living teach that, as well as the affiliated New Thought Network. And where did he get that? So you did the cross-reference and did Bible study on where he got his information. That's fantastic.
Yes, Ernest Holmes loved the Bible, but a Bible scholar he was not. So a lot of the references that he has in the Science of Mind, he just calls them out. He doesn't say what chapter and verse they're from. Anyway, I was working with a Swedish translator who was translating the Science of Mind. And this translator did not know the Bible. And as these verses came up, this translator was just making up his own translation. He did not recognize the verses as Bible verses. And as I was catching them one after the other, and then looking them up in the Swedish Bible and saying, this is not right, this person is probably not the only one who will not recognize this as a Bible verse. As the Science of Mind gets translated into more and more languages, these translators will need a guide.
Okay.
So that's what prompted me to put this guide together, was for translators.
That's great.
Because I just know that the Science of Mind will be translated into every major language of the world. It started off with Swedish, but now we know that it's in other languages.
Many other languages.
Yes. I think it's in 7 or 8 right now. But they need to know what chapter and verse it is so that they can just go look in their Bible and put it down themselves. The way it is.
I'm glad you've done that, because it just seems to me in my many years of being in New Thought, and I think it's 27 this year, that people conveniently sort of bypass the chapters in the book Science of Mind that have to do with the teachings of Jesus. So I'm just so pleased to hear that you've taken the time so that people can cross-reference and look it over themselves, because the Science of Mind is Bible-based, and even Emma Curtis Hopkins wrote the book Scientific Christian Mental Practice, and even the Universal Foundation for Better Living. Mary Tumpkin always called herself a New Thought Christian.
Yes, and I did the math here.
Okay.
And there are 776 references to the Bible in the Science of Mind.
Wow.
And there are 8 other references to other scriptures. So when people say the Science of Mind is a stew of all the world religions, that is simply not true when you look at the numbers. It is overwhelmingly a Christian-based text. So there we have it from the lady who did the math. So anyway, the book is available on my website, and I'm happy to share more about that with folks who want to contact me about it. It's also the wonderful Jane Claypool wrote. I mean, she was a skeptic at first. She said, you know, when I got into this teaching, I did not want to read about Christianity. I wanted to read about the science of mind. But so many, it wasn't just for translators, it was for ministers who had very little training themselves in the Christian roots of the science of mind. So even for ministers, as esteemed as the Reverend Dr. Jane Claypool, she also very much appreciated the depth and the rigor that was put in. It took me 3 years to put that book together.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, what was your next book? You have another book.
Well, I verified, I was working with that same Swedish translator on the Science of Mind textbook, how to use the science of mind and creative mind and success. So there was 3 that particular translator worked on that I verified with him. And then this one I did recently. It's Dennis Merritt Jones.
Oh, Dennis Merritt Jones, friend of the show. He's been on, oh gosh, at least 3-4 times. And he wrote How to Speak Science of Mind, which is a great book for those who want a better understanding of the principles.
Yes, this is How to Speak Science of Mind in Swedish.
Nice.
Yeah. And this is the second revision of that book. And this just came out a month ago. So we're very proud of this one. And so that one just came out, and that was a work that was a wonderful process, a wonderful learning process for all concerned. Awesome. And I just have a lot of kudos for Dr. Dennis, as well as for Reverend Mark Gilbert, who is the new Global Services Liaison over there at CSL.
Terrific. Oh, that's great. Now, I just wanted to note that right directly off your website, peacecentersinternational.org, I read that your vision is to use tools to access and amplify peace in families, communities, and between nations.
Yes.
And so tell us, how do you foster that?
Well, one of the ways that we have envisioned and that we'd like to start implementing this year is using collective meditation within the worship service of the world's religions that already exist.
Okay.
Now, imagine this. We already have worship services happening on Thursday night with the Sufis, Friday night with the Islam folks, Saturdays with the
Saturday night, the Jewish culture?
The Jewish culture, yes. And Sundays with Protestant Catholicism.
Right.
Now think of this as like a wave at almost like a football game. A wave of consciousness.
Okay.
If people would come together in collective meditation, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as the world turns, every hour on the hour, some group somewhere is starting a collective meditation, and our vision is that the subject of this meditation is peace.
Nice. Very good.
That is how we would like to have this facilitated. Very simple.
Wonderful. To create a wave of peace. That's wonderful. And I know you also would love to see a peace center in every state In the union?
Yes.
How about a Department of Peace?
That is also a great idea.
Yeah, on the federal level.
Beginning with collective meditation in the government.
That'd be great, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many doing it right now. Well, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to joining us on Spirituality Rocks. We appreciate so much your ministry, your independent ministry, and your work at Peace Centers International. I bless you and I praise you, and I thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Margo Ruark, for joining us on Spirituality Rocks.
And thank you so much.
Good. We're going to be back. We have another commercial break, and then we're going back, and we're going to look at the work of Natalie Jean. She's carrying on the work of Emma Curtis Hopkins, so stay tuned for more of Spirituality Rocks.
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff. We treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching, doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 of a cup.
make the donuts. Dunkin' Donuts are always fresh. I made the donuts. We make them at least twice every day. Time to make the donuts. Not a few kinds, like supermarket. I made the donuts. Time to make the donuts. But up to 52 varieties. The donuts. Time to make the donuts. I made the donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, up to 52 varieties, fresh day and night. No supermarket can say. Time to make the donuts. Dunkin' Donuts are always fresh. I made the donuts. We make them at least twice every day. Time to make the donuts. Not a few kinds, like supermarket. I made the donuts. Time to make the donuts. But up to 52 varieties. The donuts. Time to make the donuts. I made the donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, up to 52 varieties, fresh day and night. No supermarket can say.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Excited to be with you again for another terrific episode. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, spiritualityrockstv.com. Check us out there as well. So here's who I have for you now. I have Natalie Jean, Reverend Natalie Jean, and her address is highwatch.net, www.highwatch.net. And for those of you who are familiar with the work of Emma Curtis Hopkins, you'll recognize the High Watch. And so welcome to Spirituality Rocks, Reverend Natalie Jean.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All righty then. So your work is just amazing, the work of Emma Curtis Hopkins. How did you ever get into that?
Well, it's very interesting. I used to live in New York, and I was in a spiritual group, and they made us read Emma Curtis Hopkins, and the irony is that I hated scientific Christian mental practice. I really didn't like it, which is weird. So I went back to live in Maryland, and I started studying with Reverend Christopher Bazemore.
Yes.
And yes, at the Church of the Holy Spirit. And, you know, he made us answer all these questions for scientific. And so because I was made to do it, I really immersed myself in scientific Christian mental practice. And so after that, I mean, I became obsessed with Emma Curtis Hopkins. I had to find out where all of her teachings were. I mean, it became crazy. And so I came into contact with Reverend Joanna Rogers, who actually...
in Arizona.
Who worked with Marge Flotron. So that's how I know about Marge Flotron, and I bought everything from Reverend Joanna Rogers. I couldn't get enough. And then I met Michael Terranova, who also was putting out Class Lessons 1888, and we've become really good friends. We're a great group, Chris Hopkins teaching out there.
So your intention was to preserve the teachings, and I understand that you do extensive work to find older teachers and republish them.
Yes, when I first found out that when you went online to purchase anything about Emma Curtis Hopkins, it was basically $500 for scientific. Some books were $1,000, and I had enough. I said, this just doesn't make any sense. I love her teachings. They're worth it. So I went to Chicago, and I went to the Chicago Library because she wrote for the Inter-Ocean newspaper in Chicago. And so I sat there for hours just printing all of the issues that she wrote a lesson in, and then I brought them back. And so I've been working with Michael Terranova to put out her lessons as well.
That's fantastic. Well, right now, Emma, there is scientific mental practice. There is, it's scientific Christian mental practice. There's this book, High Mysticism. There's the book Resume. I had another thin volume, like a pamphlet also.
Scientific Christian mental practice was actually not written by her. It was a bunch of lessons put together by her students. So there's a lot of misconceptions about a lot of her teachings, but that is one of the books that she did not write.
I did not know that. So it was put together. It was a conglomeration by her students. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, and when I know her class lessons, her 1888. Let me get that right. Well, when was Emma born? 1840.
Yeah, she was born. Oh my God.
45, I think.
Yeah.
1845.
She was born in the 18. She was born in 1842. Was it 1842? I think.
Well, somewhere in the middle.
Died in 1925.
Okay. Yeah, and she was around 75 years old when she passed. Okay, and so one of Emma's major premises is there is good for me and I ought to have it. Tell us about that.
So when she says there's good for me and you ought to have it, that means the good is the God. And so you should have God in your life. However, that also represents different types of good in your life. God represents many things in different people's lives. So your good could be supply. Your good could be joy. Your good could be love. Your good could be the perfect job. But through those aspects, God is going to bring you to those things. So when you said there is good for me and you ought to have it, that means that you say that you deserve the world. You're allowed to inherit what God says is the kingdom, which is the good, which is God.
Right. Wonderful. Okay, and also a quote I read was, the secret of success is the everlasting expectancy. Tell me more.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people think that when they kneel down or they pray or they sit or they meditate for something, that it's just going to happen. But a lot of people have a lot of fear and they really don't believe in themselves. They really don't believe that they're deserving. The whole aspect of meditation or prayer is to expect the thing that you're asked, know that it's going to happen. The thing is that, you know, once somebody's prayed for something, they don't let it go. Half the time they're saying, well, where is it? Why isn't it come right now? And that's a lack of faith. You have to expect it, and you just have to wait to see it happen. Sometimes things can happen right away. Sometimes it may take a month. Sometimes it may take a week. But it's only going to happen if you truly think that you are deserving and you expect to see it happen.
So it's a consciousness then of possibility and expectancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's huge. People really don't understand the aspect of expecting something. And the whole truth about is that you have to see that you are deserving and that you are worth it. And that's what's lacking with a lot of people. A lot of people can be into spirituality, but you'd be surprised how many people don't believe in themselves.
Yes.
Don't believe that they're worth it.
Right. Well, then, is that because they haven't haven't focused upon their identification and connection to spirit, to God?
Yeah, there's that, because the thing is, I work with a lot of people that don't believe in God.
Okay.
And one of the things I tell people, you don't have to necessarily believe in God, but you need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in your abilities. You need to see that you are just the greatest person in the world. And if you don't have that self-love, then you can't have the things that you desire. If you want a loving relationship, you don't love yourself, how can you expect that somebody love you when what you're out picturing is not love for yourself? So everything starts from the inner. Even in somebody that believes in God, I always tell them, well, how can you not love yourself when loving yourself is meaning that you're loving God? How can you expect abundance in your life if you don't even think you're worthy of having that abundance? Exactly. It's all about the love of self.
Wonderful. You know, it just dawned on me that perhaps people might not even know who Emma Curtis Hopkins was. Emma Curtis Hopkins, she was a New Thought teacher. She was a healer. She was a theologian and writer. And she, according to your website, actively ordained women for ministerial positions through her theological seminary, which was known as the Theological Seminary of Chicago. She was known as the teacher of teachers. Tell us why.
About Emma Curtis Hopkins, that's a misnomer. A lot of people thought that she was a feminist, and she really wasn't. She was for all people. She ordained at least 50,000 people, and that included men and women.
50,000?
Yeah, 50,000.
Wow.
She ordained 50,000 people for her time, which is extraordinary. And so what's interesting about Emma Curtis Hopkins, you know, she started out with Mary Baker Eddy, and then they had a falling out, or she left, and Emma Curtis Hopkins went to do her own thing. And the thing that I love about Emma Curtis Hopkins is she teaches you how to speak the truth about yourself. And that's the essence. That's the essence. Self-love, You know, that's the essence of God is good, God is my health, God is my strength, God is my peace. That does not just belong to a certain type of people, that God belongs to everybody in the universe if they choose to believe in God. And, you know, she started out on the quest for truth because at one point she was ill when she was a child. And from then on, you know, she formed the theological seminary at somebody else's urging. What I love about Emma Curtis Hopkins is this was not about power for her, because, you know, in spirituality, even back then, sometimes people got into it because it gave them a sense of power. You know, people looked at them like high gods. Rather, she wanted to help the world, and a lot of times her energy was drained from so much treatment work that she did for so many people. She did work. She trained Ernest Holmes and his wife, and, you know, Ernest Holmes was actually a student of.
Oh, wait,
Ernest Holmes was a student.
Yes, Ernest Holmes was a student. Sometimes the Skype breaks up. Ernest Holmes was a student. Weren't the Fillmores a student? Weren't Joseph Murphy a student? That's why she was called the teacher of teachers. She taught people. How about the Brooks sisters?
Yeah, she taught one or two. There's a misnomer about the whole Melinda Kramer and the Nona Brooks. Melinda Kramer went to see her speak one time.
Oh, okay.
One time. So she wasn't her students.
I see.
As I mentioned before, I did mention the Fillmores were her students. Murphy was her student. Ernest Holmes was her. There's a plethora. H.B. Jeffries studied some of her teachings. There's a plethora of people. Annie Ricks Millets, who also taught at her seminary, was a student of hers. Anything that you see people put out, like primary lessons in Christian Science that Annie Ricks Millets put out, a lot of that stuff is based on Emma Curtis Hopkins' teachings. Some of the teachings of Fillmore, if you look at some of them, they're based on Emma Curtis Hopkins' teachings.
Yes.
Emma Curtis Hopkins was the first person to put out the word "the good." She was the first person to do that.
Well, good, because I'd like to talk about the good right after this commercial break. So please stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a moment with more of Spirituality Rocks.
I think this is a good time to tell you. You're doing okay, Mom. I can call you Mom, right? I know we haven't known each other very long, but you seem like a real keeper. You're not perfect. There was that strained carrots incident, but you're trying. You pick up my bottle every time I toss it out of my stroller. That's high comedy to an 8-month-old. You hum the Barber of Seville when you wash my hair. So cool. And your rub-downs are out of this world. Anyway, I want you to know how much I appreciate you. You know, right? How much I love you? You're doing okay, Mom.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle.
Hi, I'm Tom Mealy from Madhouse TV, and when I'm not at the studio, I'm here at the Harrison Law Group. This is my real job. And this January 2015, Brett and I are putting together a show called Legal Straight Talk. It'll be aired on Cablevision as well as here at Madhouse TV. You need to tune in. This information that we're going to be giving the public is the real deal. It's all about what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So tune in this January 2015 for a new episode of Legal Straight Talk.
Hi there, I am the Reverend Dr. Janine Burns, and you're watching Spirituality Rocks. Thank you for joining me. Next week we have the Reverend Derek Wells from CUT in Chicago. Very excited to have him joining us next week. And we are also having the week after We're having Mary, who is an energy healer, is coming to the show. So we got some exciting things in store for you. Right now, though, we're talking to Reverend Natalie Jean of Chicago. Her website is www.highwatch.net. And what are we looking at? The work of Emma Curtis Hopkins. So, High Mysticism. This is a tomb, this book. And so we were off camera saying how people read this book as if it was a novel. And you said you would like to talk to people about how is a good way to read it.
Well, you know what? When Emma Hopkins High Mysticism, she only had five people.
Wait. The phone. Wait a second. The camera. The Skype broke up. You said when Emma Curtis Hopkins. That's all we heard.
When Emma Curtis Hopkins used to teach High Mysticism, she only had 5 students in her classroom.
Okay.
Because of the material that she spent 1 month on the first lesson.
Oh, the first chapter.
Per chapter.
Wow.
So you will see that with all of her teachings, there's always 12 lessons.
Yes.
Because the 12 states of consciousness. So you would spend 1 month. So people need to understand that when you're reading Emma Curtis Hopkins material, they're actually lessons. They're not. It's not like a novel. It's not science fiction. It's not fiction. But you have to immerse yourself with her teachings. Also, you can have the Bible as your companion because she does use the King James Bible as reference to some of the passages that she has in High Mysticism. I will say, however, that High Mysticism is a book that is extremely deep. Even when I first got it, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where my mind was going. I put the book down and I let myself open up to the idea of reading it. And when I was open, I was able to read it very quickly and understand it and really immerse myself in the teachings.
And where did Emma study? What did Emma study? Do you know?
Well, one of the things that's brilliant about Emma Curtis Hopkins is that, she did go to school. She did study with Mary Baker Eddy. But she's very self-taught. She studied Hindu. She studied Buddhism. She studied Kabbalah. She was into astrology. She taught herself those things, and she spoke several different languages. She spoke Latin. I think she understood Greek. She understood English, Spanish, all those kind of languages. She understood all that. She taught herself all of those things.
That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I understand you have tattoos.
Yes. So, on my journey to understanding Emma Curtis Hopkins, on my journey to loving her so much, one day I went into the Church of the Holy Spirit and I said, I have to tell you, I love Emma Curtis Hopkins so much that I have her tattooed over my shirt. I'm seriously devoted to her.
You have her tattooed where?
I have tattoos over my shoulder.
Over your shoulder that say Emma Curtis Hopkins?
Well, it has ECH.
Okay. That's some pretty serious devotion, wouldn't you say?
Yes, because when I met her, when I got into her teachings, after I moved to Maryland, I had been going through a lot of stuff, and so I mean deep stuff I was going through, and so.
Okay, the Skype. Wait a second. The Skype. Wait. The Skype broke up.
Having self-love and my dedication.
Wait a minute. Wait a second. Time. The Skype broke up. So all we heard was that when you moved to Maryland.
When I moved to Maryland, I had gone through some depression. I had gone through so many bad experiences, which all experiences are good experiences. And so when I started learning from her about the truth and speaking your truth and not letting what other people say about you direct your life, and I'm the only person that could direct my life, I decided she changed my life for the better. My life started to improve. I immersed myself in her teachings. I decided to dedicate my life to putting out her teachings, and what better way to show my love than to put her initials over my shoulder.
Aha. Thus your E-C-H tattoo.
C-H.
Okay.
H.
Now, this year is the 100th.
Yes. Anytime. Go ahead.
The Skype is breaking up. So I'm wondering, are you going to be going to the 100th annual conference of the New Thought International New Thought Alliance in July in Phoenix?
I am scheduled to go out there. I'm actually scheduled to perform because I also sing. So I'm scheduled to go out there for now. It's supposed to be very exciting. 100 years, that's amazing. At one point, Emma Curtis Hopkins was a member. So, you know, anything to do with her, I definitely will go out.
Well, I'm excited to be, I'll be there as well. And for those of you who are interested, you can check it out on the internet. It's International New Thought Alliance, and you can see that they're having, it's in Phoenix, Arizona, in Scottsdale. It's air conditioned, don't worry about that. And it starts on Tuesday, July 14th, 2015, and it goes from the 14th, we're there, the 15th, 16th through the 17th that night. And it's just going to be I'm going to be on a panel on Wednesday, and I'm just so looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time being with spiritual compadres, if you will, and getting to meet people in person such as yourself.
Yeah.
We just have like another minute or two. I think we have about 2 minutes at most. I want to ask you about the science of God. According to Emma Curtis Hopkins, she talks about the science of God. What does she mean by that?
The science of God is just acknowledging the whole being of God. The science of God, it means that you have to come to a greater understanding of who you think that God is, because if you really look into spirituality and if you talk to a lot of different people, each person is going to have a definition of what their God is.
Okay.
But for me, there can only be one definition, one scientific definition of who God is. God only represents love. No matter what religious modality you're in, because God is represented in every single spiritual modality, every religious modality. But he's represented as love. He is what we are supposed to be. We are supposed to and represent this enormous amount of compassion. You know, a lot of times people, you know, question why things happen in the world. Why are things happening the way that they are? Sometimes things are here is God is trying to see how compassionate we are going to be towards the things that we are learning each. But the science is the definition of who God is.
Very good. Well, I just want to say that it's really been a pleasure to have you join us on Spirituality Rocks. I want to remind the viewers that they can go to www.highwatch, that's HIGHWATCH.net, to check out more of Natalie Jean's work on Emma Curtis Hopkins. Do you have a closing word for our viewing audience?
You know, my closing word is stay true to yourself. Don't let anybody define who you are. Speak your truth every single day and know that you are loved, that God loves you, and to forge on and just be true.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Reverend Natalie Jean, for joining us on Spirituality Rocks.
Thank you.
Wow, wasn't this another exciting episode? Again, I want to remind you to check out our website, www.spiritualityrockstv.com, as well as checking us out on Facebook. We have a group page, and we have a page as well, 2 of them. So next week, tune in. We have the Reverend Derek Wells. He is at Christ Universal Temple in Chicago. That is the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman's founding church. He is a terrific speaker. You can see him on YouTube. He's wonderful, and he's going to be our featured guest next week. This is Janine Burns from the Guiding Light Foundation, Long Island, New York. If you want to get in touch with me, just look up my name, Janine Burns, on Facebook. If you want to have somebody you know you want to be on the show, just let us know. I want to give a shout out to Janine and Tommy. Thank you so much for making the show so effortless each week, and thank you so much for watching. Remember to remember there's good and you ought to have it. Thank you for joining me on Spirituality Rocks.